new Cory cats. Alright, so today the topic is food, fish food. A lot of people spend a lot of time getting their fish, setting up their tank, then they just kind of throw in the cheapest food they can find, but not the best idea. So what I've done is done a lot of research on the best brands and the best types of food. You want to get a large variety of food, and because you really don't know what your fish is gonna like. Just like people, fish like certain types of food, individuals like certain types of food. They'll probably get used to anything if you just keep feeding, but they like variety, just like all of us. So the first brand I want to talk about is Omega 1. It's a very high quality brand. Some of the things you want to look for if you're looking at your package: good protein. You don't want a lot of ash. 8% is pretty good. You want to look at your ingredients: whole salmon, not fish meal, krill, shrimp, kelp, bunch of good stuff in there. I usually look at the first, 10 ingredients or so. Low in ash, natural. So this is a good tropical food, general flake that you can feed with some sort of other pellet like these. Hikari is also a great brand. These are tropical micro pellets, small enough that they sort of float and then sink eventually. Now, I know Hikari is a good brand, but they're not as good as some of the other ones I've seen. Protein levels are good. Ash is a little higher than that Omega 1 we just looked at. And the ingredients aren't as impressive. They include fish meal as the #1 ingredient. So Hikari is a good brand overall. Some of their products are a little higher quality than others. This contains animal, plant, vitamins, and minerals. So I thought this would be a good choice as something to mix in with those Omega 1 flakes, some micro pellets. The third brand I want to talk about is New Life Spectrum. Small fish. These are just more pellets. This is going to be kind of hard to see, but protein is very high. Ash is 8%, just like Omega 1. Ingredients: whole Antarctic krill, whole herring, whole wheat, flour, algae, beta carotene, spirulina, garlic. All good stuff. So New Life Spectrum might be near the top of my list. This stuff is expensive, so I got a smaller thing just to try out. This will probably last me forever, but so that's what I use for the rasboras, small schooling fish, tropical. I alternate between the flakes and pellets. They've seemed to like these pellets a little more than the flakes for some reason. Not sure why, but that's why you get more than one type of fish food. Now for the Cory cats, I got a product by Omega 1. These Veggie Rounds. Let's look at this. Whole kelp, spirulina, whole salmon, seafood mix, including krill, herring. So you see a lot of the same ingredients. You just want to avoid like wheat flour or fish meal. It's just kind of like these filler. You don't want ash, because that's just not going to do very well. I mean, the fish will eat it, but they're not going to show their good colors. They're not going to be as happy. It's like if you eat potato chips every day, you're probably going to stay alive, but you're not going to look so good. So Omega 1's a good brand. Cories are omnivores, so they'll eat the veggie stuff, but here's some Hikari Veggie Rounds that I got a sample bag at the fish store. So these are also good, Hikari. One more veggie type thing for the Cories. New Life Spectrum wafers. H2O stable, which is good. All natural. Let's see if we can zoom in on this. There's the analysis. Ingredients: whole herring meal, whole Antarctic krill meal, whole wheat flour, algae meal, beta carotene, alfalfa meal, spirulina, garlic. So those are the things I think you should look for. Garlic, spirulina are two good ones. The herring, the krill, algae, the salmon in that. What else was there? I think that was it. But so those whole ingredients are the things you want to look for. That's another thing I mix in with the Cories. The last thing for the Cories, some meat. There's even a Cory on the cover. This Omega 1 sinking shrimp pellets. Good amounts of protein, low ash. If you look at the ingredients here, if I can focus this, whole shrimp, whole salmon, cod, whole herring, wheat flour, all that good stuff in there. So usually if you find a good brand, all the products are going to be pretty high quality. The Omega 1, the New Life Spectrum, the Hikari, top 3 brands for what I have been researching. And as you can see, I do not have any live or frozen, freeze-dried foods. I've heard a lot of good things about them, but I think they're overrated in some ways. Maybe it's a little more interesting to watch your fish eat those. But a lot of times you can just make a big mess, because the live food, you don't know what happens if they don't eat everything, you know. Then you got a live worms and stuff like that swimming around. So I prefer to stick with the pellets. You can find a lot of high quality food that isn't alive, and then you don't have to keep it in your fridge or freezer worrying about that. It's just a little less work. And these are all high quality, so nothing to worry about. The fish will be fine without the live food. And I usually don't feed as much as some people do also. Usually I feed once a day in the morning. Sometimes I skip a day even. Just because it trains them to eat a little less when I'm gone, or in general, then they can, especially the Cories, have them scavenge around a little more than instead of just sitting in the corner eating a bunch of food all day. So you really can't underfeed fish. I mean, these guys can go a week without food and they'll be absolutely fine. Overfeeding can cause a lot of problems though, so err on the side of a little less food instead of putting a bunch of food in at once, because then you got to take out all the uneaten food or just let it rot, and then you got high nitrates and all that stuff. So these are the brands I recommend, and good luck with your own fish. Thanks for watching.